So let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Paula Setzer-Kissick, and today we're going to be diving into Google Forms as we talk about how we can kind of extend our use of forms, particularly with regard to having quizzes and using some special things such called branch logic. Some of you may have attended the session on Monday with Jerry where he talked about kind of the more introductory elements of Google Forms. And if you are here right now and you're like, well, I really am not interested in Google certification, that is fine. We have set these up to where they can kind of do double duty. On the one hand, you can use this to just learn more about different Google items and tools. But at the same time, if you think you may want to get certified as a level 1 Google certified teacher, then these courses are also helping you along that path. So either way, doesn't matter, but we've kind of grouped them all into this idea of path to Google certification. So let me go ahead and close that. All right. Okay, so I'm going to jump down and we're going to take a look at today's session and some of the skills that we're going to be covering. So if you participated in previous sessions before this in the last couple of weeks, you know that we are breaking these out to where we present on the skill set and then we send you off, if you wish, to do the practice tasks. And so that's what the setup we have here. You can see that on the skill set on the left side for today, our plan is to talk about how do you create a self-grading quiz and forms, providing feedback for answers so that you provide student feedback, response destination, where do these responses go, quiz assignments in classroom, how do you create that in your Google Classroom, and scaffolding and other ideas for using forms. It's a lot of information. We're going to be packed pretty tight and try to get through all this as quickly as possible. For the practice task over here on the right side, really encourage you to keep using this. And by the way, if I have anybody here who literally this is your first time that you've gotten started, I want to point out on the bottom left-hand corner, we have a slide deck. It's bit.ly, and it says Path to GC1. So it's got bit.ly/Path to GC1. Those of you that have already been participating, you should have the slide deck, and you know that each time that we do one of these sessions, we add on to the slide deck. But if you're brand new, you may need to make a copy of this. You may want to have the link to this, I should say, so that you have this information. But I encourage you that if you're going to do level 1 certification, if that's an interest of yours, you do need to be doing the practice tasks that we are providing. We try to simulate the feel of the Google test whenever you get ready to do it. And the practice task here is literally going to walk you through some of the things that we are going to learn about today. So just want to point that out. Okay, so let's jump in. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to create a self-grading Google Forms quiz, how to set that up and so forth. And so I have created a quiz here called an art quiz. And to be honest, you can see I went out and I grabbed somebody else's quiz to use, and I give them credit here, so please never let it be said I was trying to take somebody else's stuff. But I love to show different types of content to you so that you see some of the different options that are out there. The first thing we have to do, if you've created your form and you're ready to turn it into a quiz, where do you go settings-wise to make that possible? So in the upper right-hand corner of a Google form, beside the send button here, we have this little gear or cog wheel, and if you click on it, it's the settings. And in the past, you may have seen the tabs across through here. General is the default tab, presentation where you can customize, like when somebody completes a form. But there's a third tab here called quizzes. And if you click on it, you see that the very first thing, really the only thing that's bolded out right now that you could select is make this a quiz. If you want to create a form as a quiz, and you want to create this self-grading quiz to where it's really going to save you a lot of time and potentially offer great feedback to students, then you have to select make this a quiz. And once you do that, it's going to give you all these different options down through here that you can then customize and make work for you. So let's talk about some of our options here. First of all, the locked mode on Chromebooks. As you can see, It has a place where it says you can turn on locked mode, and it mentions that respondents aren't allowed to open tabs or other applications while taking this quiz. They have to be using a managed Chromebook. So I do want you to think about the implications of that, particularly right now if you're thinking about using a quiz during NTI. This is only going to work on a managed Chromebook that is owned by the district. So that's, first of all, it's got to be a Chromebook. It's not going to work on a PC. It's not going to work on a device like a Chromebook that is not belonging to Fayette County Public Schools. So that's one thing. The second thing I want to say is, even if you are managing that and it's working at home because it is a device from our district, there's nothing to prevent students from grabbing a telephone, like a smartphone or something, or another device, iPad, and looking up the answers because they're outside of your view. So just kind of pointing that out, that this is not a traditional classroom situation where you would be looking at all the kids and be able to see if they were trying to look around or look at something else. So yes, you can lock down these tabs, but they're of limited value, I really do believe, right now during NTI. What other options in the quizzes area here? Well, release grade. This is up to you. You notice that it says immediately after each submission. If you're setting up this self-grading Google form, do you want them to get their grade right away? That's up to you. So you could say later after manual review. All right, so you have the option of choosing which one you would like and which one's appropriate. I will say this about later after manual review. If your self-grading quiz has any open response or short answer where you personally are going to have to come in and physically grade it, you probably don't want immediately after each submission. You want to probably turn on later after manual review so that you can add that score and put those points in. Down here at the bottom, we also have an area called Respondent Can See. Are you going to allow them to see their missed questions? You notice that they have default checked these three items, correct answers and point values. This is up to you as teacher. Do you want them to see the missed questions? Do you want them to see the correct answers? And so forth. That is a personal call on your part, and it probably depends on what the purpose is for your quiz. So I'm just going to keep it simple right now. I'll leave all these, and I'm just going to select make this a quiz. Got to make sure I select save. All right, so our next step is this. We have turned this into a quiz. So the next thing we have to do is we've got to mark the correct answers on the quiz. To do that, I'm going to click on one of the questions. And I want to point this out to you. Before I clicked, and I'm actually going to come back up here and show you what I mean. I am going to go back to quizzes. I'm going to take this off because I want to show you something. If I click on this now, or if I go down to this question, I want you to notice this is blank down here. It just looks like regular. But as soon as I went up to settings, and I selected quizzes, and I changed this to make this a quiz, and I saved. Watch what happens now when I click on question 1. Notice down here at the bottom, we now have something called answer key. We have to select the answer key. We have to click on this, all right, to mark an answer, to add points and so forth, to add answer feedback. So there's 3 things we're looking at here. So first of all, we've got to mark the correct answer. So for the correct answer, hopefully I got that correct. All right. So I'm going to add the correct answer. And at this point too, inside of the self-grading quiz, if I want to, all I have to do is to go down through here, if I wish, and just mark the answers. Okay. Got to click on answer key. All right. Okay. Click on answer key. Next one, answer key. Click again, next question, click on answer key. All right. So at this point, if we do nothing else here, if we just select these and then say done, This is a self-grading quiz. The kids would take it, providing on which options you chose in the quiz settings area. They may or may not see the correct answer and so forth, but it's going to grade it. However, you may notice there's one thing I didn't do. It may grade it, but notice I did not adjust my points. So if I definitely want them to get point values and so forth, I would have to come in here and adjust each of these. I'm not going to get fancy. I'm just going to keep it simple, as you can see. And so forth. So at this point, if I click the done, it's going to self-grade. It's going to assign them points. You now have a quiz that's going to automatically tabulate everything for you and so forth. However, the great thing about self-grading quizzes is you can also offer feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and click on question 1. And you can provide custom feedback to students, which I think is super valuable as far as giving them some type of information. So if I want to add answer feedback, I'm going to click add answer feedback. I do want to point out something to you because it's a tricky little thing that you'll get used to very quickly. But I want you to notice that it always brings incorrect answers up first, and then it has a separate little tab for correct answers. For some reason, I want correct answers to be first, and I don't know, maybe that's just me. But if you're going to put an incorrect answer, what the feedback will be if they get an incorrect answer, this is what you're doing first. You might say, incorrect, let's talk about this later. Okay, something like that, whatever is appropriate for you. Then you can click over and correct answers and say, way to go. All right, I'm going to click save, but notice that is only for question 1 as far as the feedback. You can customize the feedback per question. You could, if you wish, make it the same all the way down. For incorrect answers on question 2, you might say, so sorry, that's incorrect. For correct, maybe you use what you used before or something of that nature. But what you would do is you would go down through here, click on each question, click on add answer feedback. For incorrect, it's going to be first. You could be blunt, wrong. All right, I'm going to click save. So anyway, that is the process for creating the basics of a self-grading quiz. So you're going to go up to settings, as we looked at. You're going to make sure you go to that quizzes tab and you turn on the quiz. You're going to select your quiz. You're going to put in the correct answer. You're going to add the points, and then you're going to add feedback if you want to add feedback to students. Okay, I'm going to pause for just a second, and I'm going to look at the chat window. If you have a question, feel free to put it in chat. If there's anything, for example, that you'd like me to show again. Okay, I will point this out. I've mentioned this before, but if I added on another question, and that turned into a short answer or to a paragraph type answer, remember, that is the one I was talking about that you in the quiz settings may want to say that no grades are released, that no grades come out until there's a manual review by you, because you have to be the one. There's no way, and I promise you this, I actually had a teacher do this one time, guys. There is no way you can write in the answer key and think that's going to fly. And the reason is, you can write the most simple thing, but if a kid misspells one word, it's going to be counted wrong because it's going to grade it literally by what you put in. So just a caution for you on short answer and paragraph. Think about that. This is something that you physically need to come back and grade because there's no way. It's not going to be correct. You're going to have some kid who knows the answer but is going to misspell something, or he's going to use one word wrong or something like that, and it's going to count him incorrect. So just kind of letting you know about that. Okay, so what's really great about Google Forms, and I don't know if any of you have had a chance to explore this, but in Google Classroom, and I'm going to go ahead and bring over my Google Classroom here. There is a new function with quizzes that is really great. You could always bring a form into Google Classroom, but now when you work with Classroom, we have something new this year called a quiz assignment. So if we go up to the Create button in Google Classroom and we select Quiz Assignment, it's kind of a special assignment now where you are going to be able to connect, either build a Google form or connect in an existing Google form. So if I put my title here, and I'm not getting fancy, I can add instructions. I can come over here to this side. I can choose my points. I can add a due date, just like anything usual. But the main thing I want to show you is here. It says blank quiz, all right? So it's got this blank quiz. It offers you a chance to do lock mode on Chromebooks. And if you want your grades from this Google form to be imported into Google Classroom, you would select, make sure it's turned on, okay? Turn it off, turn it on, it's up to you. So I'm going to click on the quiz. So when you create this, use this quiz assignment in Google Classroom, there's two things you can do. One, if I clicked on it, and just to go back over here, I clicked on blank quiz, and it popped open a new tab. I could begin building a quiz from scratch, okay? And that's fine. That may work for you. But I want to show you a function, coming back to talking about this art test, which is this little tool right here. So most of this tool is what you are used to, but now there's something new called import questions. If we click on this little icon that's a piece of paper with the sideways arrow, it's going to browse into your drive. And you have the option of selecting a pre-existing form. So here you see the art quiz, and I'm going to select, and I'm going to say select. And once you do that, you have options. You can bring in the entire form by selecting all, or you could pick and choose exactly which questions you would like to feed into this existing blank quiz. So in this case, I'm going to say, well, I've already built out my art quiz, my test or whatever. I'm going to say select all and click import questions. And not only did it import the questions, but notice it's imported the correct answer, it's imported the number of points, it's also imported the answer key. The only thing it did not import was anything to do with a background or whatever. So anyway, just kind of a quick show for you that we've now imported this. It did not bring a name, so I'll just that. Okay. And now you have connected that with, that should change over from blank quiz. Oh, you know what? I think I just did. I know I did it. So just so you know, guys, it's really important to click save, unlike what I just did. So it wouldn't hurt for us to go back through that anyway. So I'm going to go back in to import into this blank quiz. Okay, I'm going to select that art quiz again. I'm going to select all, import. All right, so now we've got our stuff. Click up here. All right. All right, and then I can come up and I can assign, I can save draft, I can schedule or whatever. So if I want to go ahead and click assign, I can do so. Oh, it did. Okay, I see that now. Perfect. Okay, I wasn't paying attention. So it grabbed it as a draft, thank goodness. I know that Google should do that, but I should have come back and looked before I got too excited about it. Anyway, does anybody have any questions about kind of the little bit of the quick basics on adding a form as a quiz assignment in the classroom? So just keep in mind that the thing about the quiz assignment is you can have it, you can select that so it'll auto-populate the scores into Classroom. So before, when you brought a form in and you connected it through just a regular assignment, those scores still lived over in the form itself. It wasn't brought into Classroom. So now this quiz assignment really will take care of a lot of that for you. And then you can import an existing form or build on the fly. So those are kind of the basics on that. Let me pull that out of the way. Get rid of that. Okay. So next what we're going to talk about is branching using what's called branch logic with Google Forms. I'll just ask a question. You can use the chat if you wish. Has anybody out there ever used any of the branch logic set up in Google Forms before? Okay. A lot of people have not used branch logic. Okay, perfect then. And I'm going to tell you right now, branch logic can be confusing, so it's really important for us to start simple and talking about it. I know that if you attended the session on Monday about Google Forms Learn, that Jerry showed you how to add a section in a Google form. So like here's a section here on the little tools that are floating down here that you can add a section, and it's a great way to break up a really long Google form that has like tons and tons of questions. So like if you had some type of form that had 30 questions in it, for example, and you wanted to chunk those sections together and you wanted to kind of create all the questions, say about color scheme and art all in one section, you could do that. And then what it would do, it would only show the questions for that section on the screen, like 5. Then you would click the next button, and then it would take you to the next section, and then maybe you grouped all the questions in art about, I don't know, balance together and so forth. So that's a really easy use of sections, but there's another way to use sections, and that's with what's called branch logic. So the first thing I want to do is just show you an example of what I mean by using branch logic, because I could jump in here and start showing you and building and stuff, but I don't think it makes much sense. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this Google Drive review example. And this is a form that has been set up to use branch logic. And what that means is based on how you answer or how the user or student answers, it's going to take you to a certain place in the form. So each answer may take you to a different location, for example. So it says, how do you copy a Google Doc? So that's our first question. So let's pretend like we're going to get this wrong, and we say, well, I'm going to answer Control-C. What does it do? What the form is going to do, based on the branch logic that's been set up behind the scenes, it's going to take us, in this case, to a reteach, or really kind of a differentiated situation. And so it says, you know, watch this video to review that skill, then answer the question again. So we branched off, and it's taken us to basically what I call a reteaching area where the user can watch the video, and then it offers that question again. So they would play it, they would watch, and it says, how do you make a copy of a Google Doc? Well, let's pretend like this time we get it correct, and we click on Next. It says, how do you insert a table in a Google Doc? All right. So let's say we say, okay, go to Insert Table, click Next. So just that little teeny tiny short example kind of gives you an idea, and of course if we're really doing this, we click Submit, gives you an idea of how to use that branch logic in order to reteach, to differentiate, and so forth. And it's all about how you set it up. I'm going to show you another example of branch logic, and this one is a novel project submission form. And so in this example, is your project finished? So I can tell you right now, even if you even haven't looked at it, you're probably getting a sense that based on how you answer, this form is going to branch off depending on which answer is chosen. So let's say we say, nope, the project is, no, it's not finished. What happens? And the teacher's like, well, why have you not completed this project? What help do you need? Is there anything your teacher could do? So you can see that the teacher here is branching off and saying, okay, what is it I'm trying to help you here, let's get you going. But if I come back and I select the yes, is your project finished, what branch does the form go down? So I'm going to click Next. And you notice it actually says my project is finished or almost finished. So they actually have only done 2 branches. There's the no branch, and then there's the branch where it's going to go off and ask questions related to finished and almost finished. And it says what kind of project did you do, describe, novel elements, and so forth. All right? So just kind of giving you 2 examples there for you to have a little bit of a feel for what's happening when we do this. All right. So I'm going to reiterate what I said. When you're starting with branch logic, it's really important that you start simple and short. You really probably want to keep it around 2 to 3 questions for your very first attempt. So unless you're just a really go-getter and a big planner and stuff, if that's the case, go for it. But I really recommend keeping it 2 to 3. So an exit slip, maybe a flashback of some kind, those are kind of perfect because those items tend to be fairly short. All right, so let us go and we're going to create a form and let's try to do some branch logic so you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to go to New, go get a form and create. All right. So we can call our form, and maybe this is, I don't know, literary terms. And remember, I'm going to tell you this, and I did not mention this in quizzes and so forth, that, and I'm sure, let's see. Okay, require sign-in, limit to 1 response, collect email addresses. Guys, it's very important on quizzes especially, maybe not so much for a branching form depending on what type of form you're doing, but you need to have some way to tie the quiz to a student. I promise you this will happen to somebody, but you will set up a quiz and you will forget to either collect the email addresses or, as an alternative, forget to put in a name area. But if you don't do that, you're going to have a hard time. You're not going to know who did what as far as a quiz or a survey or whatever, assuming you want a survey that you can identify. If it is a quiz that's set up as I should say a formative assessment instead, that's set up using branch logic, you probably are going to want to know which student is doing what, how are they doing on this, who had to go back and revisit and so forth, that type of thing. So it is critical that you grab this information from the kids. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of do both. I marked the collect the email addresses, but you could also go ahead and put a name in. But let's talk about getting started with the branch logic. So first of all it's really important to let's do a section. So we are going to use the sections inside the form to organize our branch logic in this form. So we have our name, and in our first section here, this is going to be the section that is going to be about alliteration. So it's kind of important to give your section a term associated with whatever the questions are going to be in that area of your form. So if I add that this is going to be the alliteration area, I can click plus to add a question. And now I can come in and I can add my question. And I can also add my different answers. Okay, so I have now created a section about alliteration, and I have added a question that says which of the following is an example of alliteration. At this point, I am now ready to say, okay, if I have 2 options here really, they're going to get the answer right or they're going to get the answer incorrect. So if they get the answer and they answer incorrectly, I need them to have some type of reteaching situation set up. So in other words, I need to branch off and I need to send them to learn about what it was they misunderstood about alliteration. So I'm going to add a section here. And in this section, I'm going to be very careful to name it exactly what it is. And so in this case, I am going to call this section Alliteration Tutorial Video. And with this section, I am going to add a video that the students are going to rewatch. Remember that one example I showed you? It's being set up like that. So I can come in, and in this case, I grabbed a URL and had it ready. You could browse if you wanted to, as you saw. And I'm going to select it. And now I'm creating my reteaching area. I can also add on at this situation, I could put in some kind of directions. You know, the sentence you chose is on an example of alliteration, watch the following video, and so forth. So I can give the students a little bit of guidance here. And now I have my area in case they get it wrong. Okay, where do they go to learn about alliteration? At this point, I'm going to go ahead and add the next section. And this is the next section that's going to be related. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about answering correctly. This next section is going to be the section related to my next literary term. So I'm going to call this section Automatopoeia, and I'm going to add a question that is connected to this. All right, so I've added my question. And I don't know if you all have seen this before, and maybe you have. Hold on a second. Do you all know how to, and you can use the chat to answer this, do you all know how to take like an existing list of items or answers and how to add them all at once? Have you seen that before in a Google form? Okay, so let me show you what I mean. I'm getting ready to put in the onomatopoeia thing. This is my little lesson notes here. Okay, so you see how I've got like some bullets. These could have been numbers. It just depends on what I have set up. I'm going to copy all three of those answers at once. Control C. And I'll click right here on option 1. I'm going to put Control V. Look what it did. So for those of you all that have existing tests or things that are not in Google Forms, just wanted to show you that you can put all those in at once like that. Now every now and then, depending what you're copying out, you might get a little funky. Like one time I had Q1 for question 1 and so, or answer, had A1, sorry, had A1 for answer 1. You might have to strip those out, but it's a really nice, fast way to put everything in all at once for what you need. So just kind of a little tip for you in case you've never seen that before. Now I have my section on onomatopoeia. I put my question. I need to put the path or the branch for what if they get the question wrong, because I need to add a section. I've got to send them to a section for that. So I'm going to add my section, and I am going to call this Onomatopoeia Tutorial Video. Okay, and then I need to add, and I will say this, guys, you don't have to use videos. You could put an image if you wanted to. That's always an option as well. Oh wait, I just did the wrong one. Forget that. I needed the video. Okay, got to do add video, so I've got to select the correct one. I'm going to paste in my link, and I'm going to select it. I can add any directions or whatever I want to put here. Okay, and at this point, we've kind of got our branches set off, but we haven't completed everything because you may have noticed we still, how do they get from here to there and connect and all that? So how do you tie all this together? All right. Jennifer, I don't see why you could not. Let me think about that. That's a good question. Section. What if you put in a link here, I'm wondering, like in the description? Couldn't one put, let me grab something real quick, just to start. I'm glad you asked that question. I'm going to go out here and snag something. Okay. I wonder if we pasted in a link. Maybe something like that. I'm thinking that's going to work. We'll try it in a second and see what happens and all. All right, so we've got to connect our parts and so forth and put this together so that the path is connected. So we've got to put that pathway together. So I'm going to come down. First of all, the first part that we have to do is we have to take this question and we have to make it required. All right, so the first thing is you got to make it required. Then we have to click on the ellipses here, the 3 vertical dots, and we have to select go to section based on answer. Now before I click on that, I want you to notice it just looks like a normal question here, we could edit here, we can click the X's to remove. But as soon as I do go to section based on answer, you're going to see a change. And notice now you have some different options. This is where we're going to script out the branches, the path, to where we want the student to go based on how they answer. And so for 10 tiny toes, that is alliteration. What do we want them to do? Do they need to go to the alliteration tutorial video? No, they don't. They got that correct. So if they answer correctly for this first question about what alliteration is, then they're ready to go on to the section about onomatopoeia. So we're going to say if they answer that, they're going to go to the section on onomatopoeia. However, these other two are incorrect. These students need to go watch the alliteration tutorial video so that they get that reteaching opportunity. All right? If I come down to the onomatopoeia question, I once again have to click required. I also have to click the vertical ellipsis with the dots and say go to section based on answer. So what is onomatopoeia? Use of words that mimic the sound, a comparison of two unlike things, and so forth. Well, use of words that mimic the sound is onomatopoeia. So if they got that correct, and this is only a 2-question form, maybe it's like a little flashback or exit slip, then they're ready to go to submit form. However, for the 2 that got it incorrect, we've got to send them to the onomatopoeia tutorial video so that they go to that area and they watch, and hopefully from there we'll learn the correct answer and so forth. All right, so at this point we have at least set up our questions, but we haven't finished yet. All right, so when we come down, we know that this one is sending the students from here. If they got it correct, they're going to go on down to the onomatopoeia question. If they get it incorrect, they're going to go to the alliteration tutorial video. But we have one last thing we have to look at. When they get to this section on the alliteration tutorial video and they watch it, where do they go next? Well, we need to send them to the question on onomatopoeia. And this, what you have to do here is it says after section 3, continue to next section. Where is it they're going to go? They're going to go to onomatopoeia. And obviously, depending on your form and how many things you have in there and so forth, you might be sending them to different locations in the form. But you want to make sure that they're going to go and move on to onomatopoeia. And then when we get down to onomatopoeia, I want to show you something here. And they get to this form. Actually, I think I was talking about the wrong thing there. Onomatopoeia. Notice there's not a section that says continue on or submit or anything. So if they rewatch this onomatopoeia tutorial video and they go through it, how in the world do they go to submit a form? Well, you're going to have to add a section here. And you're going to have to put that section in so that they move into the submit form area. All right? And then in the meantime, so once I do that and I add, and we're not going to do anything with this section, it's just going to have them sitting right here. All it is kind of a placeholder so that now we get this here. After section 5, continue to next section. And what we want to do is now get that option to submit form. Because remember, if I take that away and I delete it, I have nothing that I can do. So there's no way to submit. There's nothing there. There's no way to continue. I have to have that section kind of blank and unclaimed in order to get the option to submit. That's the way the kids that were sent to that reteaching area, that's how they get to the submit area at this point. So if I come back up, and Kathy, you asked the question if you want them to re-answer the question, then what you would do is say for the like alliteration, for example. Okay, after here's the section on alliteration tutorial video. What you will do here is you're going to add a question right after that video. And you're going to put in you can redo the same question if you wish. Like I think that was on that one form example. So you could redo the same question. You could shuffle the answers or not. It's up to you. And then you're going to direct from there. And you would just say, is it required? Do they move on? And so forth. And you'll set the path. And you would do that for each one and so forth. I'm going to take that back out though. There it is. Let's do that. Let me delete him out. Okay, so let's go up to view form. Let's see if this thing turned out. So we'll put in our name, click next. Which of the following is an example of alliteration? 10 tiny toes. But you know what, I'm going to answer incorrectly. Go to next. The sentence you chose is not an example of alliteration, blah, blah, blah. They watch it, click next. And Kathy, this is where once you click next, if you have built out that question to follow up again on alliteration, you would add it there. And yes, Crystal, if you could send them back, let me think about that. You could. So Crystal, you could send them back to that first section. You could choose to do that. That is true. You could. Now, keep it simple. When you do that, do 2 or 3 questions at first, but yes, you can send them back to that original question, but keep in mind that as you're looping and sending them back through, you're going to want to test and retest, kind of like what I'm doing here, where you're going to check it and make sure that everything is good to go. So, Kathy, you could do a question, particularly if you want a different question. If you're going to reuse the same question, I think Crystal's right, you could loop them back to that first one. So it kind of depends on if you want a different question or not about the same subject or topic. So it says, which of the following is a definition for onomatopoeia? We'll say wrong, just so you can see it. You watch the video, and notice now, because we added that one blank section at the very bottom of the form, we now have the submit button. We can click submit, and it will be turned in. Now, branch logic can get crazy. The more you add to your form, the more that you get crazy stuff. Oh, you know what? I think it deleted off that one thing, didn't it, Jennifer? Hold on a second. The one about adding content. Let me do this. No, I don't want question. I think I used that. Hold on. We're talking about if you want to send them into something else, or if you want to send them to a document or something. Do this. All right. Let me see what that looks like. So yes, you could put a link out to a document, to an item, at least. And then Jennifer, your question was about, can you link back to the Google Classroom lesson? I assume by lesson, are you talking about the actual documents and items of that nature, Jennifer, or a hyperdoc, things of that nature? Okay.
Yes, right. That you answered it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, that'd be an easy way to send them back, to have them go back through it and so forth. And let me get rid of that. Let me look at my questions here. Oh, how to get to scores. All right. Jerry probably showed you a little bit. So couple comments about scores. And I'm going to come back into my drive here. So when you do this, you have quizzes, and then you have things such as that where it's got the reteaches and so forth. A quiz, and I'm going to open up the ARC quiz again. The quiz is something you're scoring, right? Because we put points and that type of thing and all of that items there. So the responses, the answers, the correct scores are going to go into the response area. It gives you a really nice visual breakdown. And if you did the session on Monday, I think you really explored some of this. But it'll give you the breakdown by summary, by question, by individual. But there's also the Google Sheet. And that can be really great for a Google Sheet if you want to do some sorting, really want to examine some of the scores the kids had and so forth. As you can see, there's only one response right now. But if I click on Create Spreadsheet, it says, do you want a new one? Basically, if you create a new spreadsheet, it's dedicated to this form. If you had an existing spreadsheet, you could take it into there. Honestly, I think most of us are in the create a new one, and you're keeping each sheet connected to the single Google form, but it's up to you. So click Create, and then it's going to populate the student's information here and so forth. All right. And notice on the art quiz, do you see something there? What do you not see from the student? Anybody see a problem with that kid?
There's no name.
Exactly. So yes, remember what I said about in the quiz? So in that art quiz, you got to remember you've got to go in there, and it's not enough just to do quizzes. You've got to either be collecting those email addresses and or add a section for the name, all right? And that way, I promise you, if you've not done this before and you do your first couple of quizzes, self-grading quizzes, there's a very good chance one of those are going to end up with no names attached if you don't get in the habit. Trust me, you'll learn very quickly to go fix that and to not do that. So just kind of showing the example there of what it can look like in that respect. But that Google spreadsheet, once if you had the name, it would be right here and so forth, and you could sort these scores and you could look at it and kind of just, you know, check out the data and that type of thing. Yes, Krista, I think too, if you're using it with multiple class periods, I would definitely want that information in there as well. Definitely. All right, and I think I had one more thing I wanted to show you before we left, and it also uses branch logic. Let me find it. Here it is. I'm going to bring this over. So coming back to what I said, so with quizzes you need the names and so forth. You want your names with your differentiated learning with the branch logic item and so forth. You want that. But when you're using branch logic, there are times you're using that branch logic more for formative assessment, maybe not really for scoring, if that makes sense. So kind of think about your purpose when you are using your branch logic. You know, what's your reason for using it, and do you need scores or not, depending on what it is that you want from the students. But I want to show you another example of branch logic that's kind of just fun. And I don't know if any of you, have you ever seen the Choose Your Own Adventure stories? Well, these are Choose Your Own Adventures based on Google Forms. And so the person that designed this is like, oh, this is a choose your own adventure, and it says you're going to be presented with a choice on each part of the story, and you're going to have to defend that choice, and has some other things that they wanted the students to do. And it says time to set sail. They're setting the stage here for the adventure. You know, it's the first day of summer vacation. I'm thinking cruises are not a hot commodity right now with coronavirus, but hey. But it says you respond by saying my name is, and so here you would put the name in. So everybody's going to get sent here. It's like the weigh-in. Welcome aboard, says Captain Connor. Before we can let you board, we have to weigh your luggage, so forth and so on. You're going to have to choose, what do you want to leave behind? All right, do you want to leave your camera behind? Do you want to leave your tablet behind? I don't know about you guys, but I am a picture hound. I would, oh gosh, I don't know. I guess with the tablet, though, you could take photos. I'm probably still going to go with my easier camera to use on a trip. I'm probably going to leave my tablet behind, as hard as that is for me to say. And it says, well, why did you choose to leave that behind? And I love pictures. And notice, you can actually lock that down too. And the teacher, what happens is you can go in there and put a word limit, like how many words they have to put in or letters or whatever. I don't even know. Let's see if we can get it to go away. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Shoot. I have no idea how many this lady put. This is not my form, guys. So, you know what I'm going to do is this. And all right. Do you see after a certain amount of words and letters, I am able to get that little comment to go away. I'm going to click next. All right, it says, well, you decided to leave your tablet behind. At this point, that's where the branch logic comes in. Based on that answer, inside that form, they have me going off to a section that is related to you left your tablet behind, you chose the camera instead. And these are called Choose Your Own Adventure stories, and they are great fun to set up for your students. Now, I can tell you, obviously, the longer the Choose Your Adventure, the more elaborate your branch logic's going to get. So I probably wouldn't start with a Choose Your Own Adventure. I would probably start with those flashback and exit quiz, exit slips and things like that. Keep it to 2 or 3 till you get comfortable, and then start building out and going from there. I also want to show you, I can find what I did with it. I wanted to share this with you. So guys, you may want to write this bit.ly down if you want, and it's right here in red, bit.ly/3, and I will point out that a bit.ly is case sensitive, so it matters if it's uppercase or lowercase. But if you would like to write that down, this is some kind of resource information for you to come back, and if you want to watch a video about using the Google Forms branching method, if you want to look into setting up some differentiation, choose your own. There's a template here that's really great for choosing your own adventure template. That way it takes out some of the thought for you as far as the branch logic, how to make one, how to put it together, and so forth. But I thought I would share this with you. I will point out that this session will be recorded, and just have to get it rendered and uploaded and all. Sometimes that can take just a little bit of time, but it'll be up in the next day or two. And that will be available to you as well. You can find that on our YouTube channel, or you can find it on our FCPS NTI website. But in the meantime, if you want these additional resources, just copy down the bit.ly link so that you have them. And can feel free to explore. But I was going to go ahead and open this Choose Your Own Adventure template. And it kind of, see how it's got the section set up for you? So you could jump in and do the adventure, but look at this. Notice how crazy the branch logic gets down here. This is why I caution you, don't start here. This is not the place you want to get started. But I think the great thing for you to know, though, is about what else can Google Forms do. They can be quizzes that are self-grading, that provide feedback to students. They can be forms that offer reteaching moments where you build that out through the lesson. The form itself could, in a sense, be that assessment and lesson at the same time almost. And then you could do the adventures and all kinds of other cool stuff with Google Forms. It's a really, really great tool to use. All right, so I'm going to go back and look through questions. I know I caught some people's questions here and there, but I'm bound to have missed some as well. Let's see. Okay. You said it's at the top of the form. Tanya said this. At the top of the form, there's an icon that looks like an upwards arrow next to the art palette. Oh, those are for add-ons. So if you have added on things to Google Forms like App Sheets, Doc Appender, Form Publisher, and so forth, it's kind of a quick shortcut into those. Like you can take a form and have it auto-publish things. There's a lot of cool stuff that goes on with forms. We didn't build that into this session. You kind of get a little bit more into that for level, if we're doing certification, level 2 certification, but form limiter and so forth. But you could set those up right here. So depending on the app you've chosen, it's, it'll walk you through what it is you need to do and so forth. In this case, it's wanting me to run through all the hoops of logging in and all. So, no, hold on. I think I know what I did. I've not used the flat icon before, I'll be honest with you, so I'm kind of playing here, guys. Let me go down here to the bottom one. Let me add on a question before I do that. Oh, reload. Play with it. So do you see it added the icon down here at the bottom? So I've not even played with that before, the flat icon. Had no reason to. So if you needed to use that, you could add that and put it in a section and so forth and play with that. But if I come back to add-ons, that one was called Icons for Slides and Docs. So if you wanted to go out and find that, Icons for Slides and Docs, you could stick the icon in there. What other questions? Anything you want me to show you again? Well, I want to be honest with you. The branch logic is something that I have to be very careful about myself. I have to really script it out. It is an add-on. Yes, Krista. It's called Icons for Slides and Docs, and that's where it said the flat icon whenever I click Start. And then here it says flat icon is what it actually says. So I could do a little Facebook, click Insert. So if you had a reason to use those, you could do that. Here's my question as it's trying to insert there. I wonder if my internet's getting slow. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Hopefully that doesn't mess with it. I wonder, it's not letting me do anything right now while it's working. So he's still spinning. I'm wondering if when we do a question, I know that if you attended the session on Monday, you all know that instead of answers, you can put pictures in this. Yes, you just Google that, Krista, and you should be able to add it. I'm wondering if, because you notice there's no way to add from here. I'm wondering, still, sorry guys, my internet must have gotten sketchy right now, my Wi-Fi or something like that. But I'm wondering if we, instead of using, and I was trying to click on it, instead of using words and we were doing pictures, I wonder if we carefully placed our cursor in one of these locations, if we could then go up to, so you're moving your cursor. I'm just wondering if you could custom place those icons or if they always will come down here. Where I've never played with it, I don't know. So feel free to explore, check it out and so forth. All right, we're finished obviously with the session. Feel free to leave, but if anybody wants to stick around, we can explore, play. If my internet starts working, I don't know, we may be it. I hope it doesn't affect my recording of the video at all. All right, guys, you all have a good one. Please reach out to us at any time, any of us, and we're happy to help. You could do one-on-one if you get stuck on something. If you want to go back over some branch logic, we can figure it out together. All right, everybody take care, be careful, and enjoy.